Alrighty. This is always that awkward first couple of seconds where you're like, are you live?
Yeah,
Are you
you
not
are.
live?
I
Are
always
people
sit here
there?
like this going, and then it plays back and I've been live the whole time. So yeah.
That is it. All right. So we're going to get started because we're a minute late and that's on me,
A whole
not
minute.
Kate.
A whole minute. My God.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I am really excited to have this conversation. We were meant to have this at the end of last year, but all good things, sometimes it's worth waiting for. So, Kate, you actually don't need an introduction because so many people know who you are. But for those that do not, can you please tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how long you've been in business for?
So I've been in business for about 12 years, and I started off as a freelance human for hire, doing all manner of different things, niching down into copywriting and then SEO copywriting. About 5-6 years ago, I started doing some passive income products, selling a few templates, a few courses, and now those have evolved into 3 businesses. So I don't have any clients anymore. My businesses are all now education based. I teach copywriters how to be better copywriters. I teach people how to grapple Google and get more traffic and conversions. And then my 3rd business is teaching people how to use digital marketing to build a successful business.
Love it. And I love what you do. So I love your nibbles, and we've had you on to
my nibbles. Yeah.
Nibbles.
Nibbles. Yeah.
You got to be so careful with that. Thanks for Kate for coming up with that title.
It was deliberate. I'm not stupid.
And we've had you share your SEO knowledge within our, group of first professionals. So there's so much that we've learned from you. So thank you. I want to delve into today your experience with Profit First. So when you first came to know, what is Profit First? What was that?
I remember it very clearly, actually. It was at a conference called Artful Business Conference, and there was this wonderful lady presenting. I can't remember her name. She's got a really weird second name. But anyway, it was you. And it was a small group. There's about 8 of us, and there was another lady there who was some kind of coach. I can't remember, to be honest. And you were explaining, the bucket system, and she actually turned her screen to me with her computer on and her bank, showing all her bank accounts. She's very open of her, and I saw that all these bank accounts had so much money in them. No, and that really shocked me that someone would just have that money sitting there, for starters. And it just really made me think, wow, I don't know what. It really made me stop in my tracks, and I feel almost like an ignoramus because it seems so obvious now, but at the time it was like a flash of light. I'm too lazy to read Mike Lalabuska-Momoska's book. So instead, I got you to help me set it up in the first place, just with the different accounts and the different percentages. And then I just struggled with it for a while. I mean, I got a whole story here. How much do you want me to say?
I love this. Because I guess the biggest thing that people ask me all the time, and it's really nice that I'm not answering these questions because I say the same thing over and over again, is, what were the challenges? Did you implement it all? What were the things that you learned from it that were surprising? So yeah, go for it.
Okay,
Kate.
I'll keep going. I mean, this is one of my favorite topics. I'm a complete convert. I have drunk the Profit First Kool-Aid, and I drink it every day. So yeah, you gave me my percentages, and I was just like, I have to set up all these bank accounts. Like, that's too hard.
It was so against it.
I know, like, it was, what an idiot. So I set those up, and then I had to get them putting through into Zero, and that felt hard. In reality, it wasn't. It was just a bit fiddly. And, I think anything to do with money back then, I was like, don't make me do money things. So got those set up, and you gave me my percentages. I can't even remember what they were back then. I'm going to actually find out what they are now, though, because I think that will be interesting. I've got a little spreadsheet that I've got here. So you gave me my percentages, and I think back in the day, I was still a sole contractor. So I was doing kind of 50% owner's pay, 25% expenses, whatever, yada, yada, yada. And then like 1% or 2% profit or something like that. And, for the first 3 months, it was just getting into the motion of it, because obviously I didn't have huge amounts of money coming in. So I'd kind of put some money away for this, that, and the other, then have to immediately take it out again because my cash flow wasn't good enough. But, you know, it did kind of stop me in my tracks and stop me spending, because I wanted to build up the money into the pots. So that was really good. I'd say it took me about 3 months to get into the habit of doing it. And I began doing my little dispersal every Monday morning, and that was an enjoyable thing to do. And my goal with that, to begin with, the big challenge that I wanted to overcome with Profit First was having enough money for my BAS each quarter, because it always came as a surprise. Like, it didn't matter how much I put aside, I never had enough. And I was always like borrowing from the future. And I was like, what is going on? Like, where is my money going? And then the next big goal after that was to be able to pay myself a salary, which I hadn't done yet. So, you know, just like everyone else, all the money went into one pot. I kind of put money aside for this and that, but I just spent until it ran out, then panicked, earned some more, spent that. And it was just a horrible, hideous roller coaster. So yeah, that was the first kind of 3 months of Profit First.
Did you stick to it? Tell us the truth.
Oh, shut up. You know I didn't. So every now and again, I think it was every 6 months we agreed. I think we started with 3 months, then we went 6 months. We'd come in and you'd be like, you're not doing it properly. You keep borrowing. And I was like, yeah, whatever. So it probably took, I'm going to be honest, and I don't want this to discourage people, because it's just a mindset shift, but it probably took me a full year to just become really strict with it, like, and not move it. And the reason it took so long is because I had to build up the money. You know, I had to build up enough money in my salary saved up account to pay myself a salary into my personal account. You know, I had to have enough money in my expenses to cover the big, sometimes annual fees that came with subscription. So it takes a while for it to flow. There is a bit of borrowing and back and forth. And then, you know, this all seemed to coincide, whether it was the gods of Profit First or not, with my business suddenly taking a massive leap forward. So I had a 220% increase in revenue within the space of a year.
That's massive.
So suddenly there was all this money, you know, to move around and put everything. So, you know, we readjusted the figures again and again, like simple things like I'd always put aside 10% for GST. And then obviously because I was spending so much on other things, it actually came down to like 2% on GST because it was counted, you know what I mean? So there was degrees of fiddling and changing. And then I incorporated into a company and that changed the figures again. And I've been using the same figures now as I have been for about a year, because I set the revenue target for this year to be the same as last year. Like, I'm not about scaling anymore. I'm actually about scaling back. So trying to earn a similar amount of money, but just not work so damn hard.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's a big long blurble. Was that useful? I don't know if there's anything you want to pick out of that. But
yes, there's lots that I want to go, hey, Kate, let's start with the fact that you said that it was challenging because of the revenue. This is so common for business owners. They're like, well, Profit First isn't going to work because I don't have the revenue coming in, or I have lump sums coming in and then there's no money and it's feast and famine and that sort of thing. I think one of the things that I noticed when you were implementing Profit First is that you were really clear as to what needed to come in, not just I need more money now, which is what the cycle was that you were in before you implemented Profit First. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, because the big thing for me was, I think more than anybody else in your group, my money was either all or nothing in a way that no one else will understand, because I launch a course 3 times a year that makes $150,000 a launch. And then there was nothing in between. Do you know what I mean? Really not, just trickles and dribbles of nothing, you know. So you get all that money and you're like, and you know, it's the determination to go, no, this has to see me. It's like being a squirrel. These nuts have to see me through the next 3 months. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because otherwise, in a month from now, when I've spent it all, I'm gonna have to keep working so hard. So that wasn't the goal in the beginning. I think it was just to get through BAS and pay myself a salary. Then it became, how do I spread this money over the periods in between the launches? And then after that, you know, with the freedom of doing that, I saw that there was obviously, it would be really beneficial for me to have recurring monthly income, so not rely on these big 3 days. So that's when I set up more memberships and I started to really build out those more, so that it wasn't such a peak and a trough. There was money coming in every month. And then now, at the stage I'm at now, it's actually become a reverse scaling thing. Because the other thing that people say is, oh, profit first isn't for businesses that are growing, which I just don't understand. It's going to restrict your growth.
Say what?
I don't know. What are you talking about? How in any way can knowing how much money is yours be bad for growing? I just think that's absolute nonsense. I hate it when people say that. So, but what it's become for me is it allows me to take my foot off the pedal. Because right now, because I've had some launches, I can see that I have enough money to pay myself till the end of the year. I have enough money to pay my team through till next year. I've got enough money for my BAS, enough money for my GST. I can say that I don't need to work quite so. If that opportunity comes along for me to do something for free for exposure, I can say, you know what? No, thank you. And I think that's what the profit account really does. I was good. I kept it building up for 3 months until I had that kind of, my business could survive if everything went wrong, money. And then I started to take that money out and use it to pay off debt. So I paid off my credit card debt, paid off my mortgage. Then I started to use that money to think about my future and where I could invest it. And none of that would have been possible without profit first. But when you're starting out, the profit account becomes what I like to call I don't know if I can swear in your group, so I won't.
Of course.
The FU money. That when you get a client that is being obnoxious, and you see that money in your profit first account, you go, you know what? I don't need to put up with this. You need me more than I need you. Or when someone asks you to do something at reduced rate, you look at the money and you go, you know what? I'm all right. I don't need to fight over this job like a seagull fighting over a chip. I'm going to stick to my rates, which reflect my value. I'm not going to lower them because I'm desperate for money, because I can see over here that I'm not desperate. And I think that's what really helps.
Absolutely. And I think, do you remember when you first asked me the question as to what buffer amount you needed for that 3 to 6 months? And I think you decided to not talk to me for a period of time.
$50,000 or something. I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the thing is, 2 years prior to that, I'd been $50,000 in debt to the tax office. So that just seemed impossible to me. But this is it. It's about chipping away. And it just teaches you a bit of, I can understand to a degree where people say, oh, it hinders growth. Because a lot of people do grow things stupidly. Like they randomly buy things that they can't afford. Oh, I need this $10,000 mastermind because it's going to help me up level. I can't afford it. And I'm going to not have enough money to pay my GST and tax. And we're going to have to eat baked beans for the next 6 months. But I need it to up level. You don't need it to up level. It makes you more judicious about the financial decisions that you make, because they're actually based on, fact rather than emotion. And that's so important for so many business owners. It's very emotional having your own business. It feels like a reflection of who you are. How much money seems to be the measure of who you are as a human. It's not, but it can feel like that. And so I think what Profit First does is it makes everything super rational. You can't deny the figures, and the figures then help you make informed decisions about everything. For me, it's helped me make decisions about what I'm going to invest in my business. It's made me look at things like my subscriptions and what I'm paying for. It's made me be able to make decisions about, can I afford to hire people to help me? When I started with you, I had 1 VA. Now I have 9 people working for me. Because
I remember that conversation.
Yeah, because I know I can afford them. And I never wanted to take someone on and then let them down. That was a big thing to me. So, I'll stop talking.
In terms of the whole revenue and growth thing, because I hear that a lot as well, that it hinders growth. And all that does to me is highlight the mindset that people have that's about sales, revenue, and not profit. You're not looking at the profit in your business. If you think that this is what is hindering your growth. You can have a massive business and no money.
Yeah, and I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what Profit First is. And that's what it is. It just, to me, shows that they don't really understand what we're talking about. And that's it. I think most business owners, if you sat them down and said, okay, you made this much money last year, what percentage of it was yours to take home, would have no idea.
No, not at all.
What salary you're paying yourself, they would say, oh, I don't pay myself a salary. And it's like, well, then what, surely that's the goal, to be able to, you know, but some people are like, oh, I don't want a salary, that's too constricting. And I'm like, for me, a salary is freedom, because I know everything's safe, everything's covered, my mortgage is covered, everything's covered, and that means I can take risks. And that's what being an entrepreneur is about. It's about being passionate, and it's about being a risk taker, but they need to be calculated risks. You know, you're not just doing random things for the sake of it. You know, they need to be risks based on rationale, you know, and I think that's what Profit First allows you to do. So yeah, I think people who say that it hinders growth just fundamentally don't understand what it is. It's like people who say that routine ruins creativity. Routine doesn't ruin creativity. If you plan in your week to have a day a week where you can do creative stuff, knowing that all your admin and boring stuff is done, then you can be more creative on that day. So routine actually breeds creativity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. And so I guess the next question that I have for you is, did the percentages work?
Yeah, they did. I mean, they actually worked in my favor, because I think you knew my mindset when we did it. And so I think you bumped them up a little bit. So you gave me less, and you gave my GST and whatever a little bit more. So this is a big thing for me. So this is the next big thing to talk about. What happened was that I ended up having a surplus every year. There was too much. I'd saved too much for my GST, too much for my tax. So instead of getting this kind of personal tax back thing at the end of the year, instead I would get to the end of the year, I'd pay all my GST and tax, and I'd have money left over. And again, that changes the way that you run your business. For the first time ever, I was able to plan for my tax, and also do things like make super contributions that I hadn't made before. Like all
that was a big thing for you.
Yeah, I'd never paid super, and I had no super. Now I pay the maximum that I can pay every year. And I look at the end of the year, because I've got all the money sitting there, I can say, well, it's actually going to be more beneficial for me to use some of that money I've saved for my tax to pay off my super. And I can do that now. I can do tax planning. Wow, so sexy, so enjoyable. But equally, as time goes on, that money in the business grows. It's just sitting there. It's not needed for anything. And I think I had a real flip. It was only about a year and a half ago where I realized that money's mine. It's mine. And I can do what I want to do with it. I can take it as a dividend. I can invest it here. I can do that with it. But it's my money. And that's all built up because I've been overly cautious. I don't pay myself a huge salary. I'm not a particularly extravagant person, because I'm in this for the long term, and I do want to think about my future. But again, you know, going from massive debt to now having a surplus, it's life-changing. And it's not because this is a really important thing to say. I mean, I do make a lot more money now than I did when I started, but it's not actually the reason why I have a surplus. It's because I understand what money's mine. I'm cautious. I don't overspend. You know, I think about things properly. I look for ways to reduce my expenses. And therefore, even if I was earning a tenth of what I'm earning now, I think I would still have a surplus, just because it's the mentality, not the money. Do you know what I mean?
It's so true. And the amount of people that come back to me and say, I don't know where all this money's come from. It's just, there's more and more of it. It's accumulating. And it's not as if they've had, you know, you had exponential growth from one year to another, but then it's been consistent since then.
Yeah, and much more. Yeah.
And most people don't have that kind of growth, yet have that exact same feeling and experience. And I guess one of the things that I wanted to sort of highlight is that, you know, it doesn't actually, you don't go without. A lot of people think that by implementing Profit First and looking at your expenses and looking for creative ways of reducing them and that sort of thing, that it means going without, that there's this lack that comes with it. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I just went from recklessness and spending what I had to being a bit more organized about it. Sure, there was a period of transition where I was trying to get this right, but it wasn't like I was like, you know, eating dry bread and gruel. You know, I wanted to be able to build up that salary account so it has a little bit in it. And you know, when I started paying my salary, it was quite minimal, and then I've increased it, but I've not increased it that much. So sure, there's a period of transition between and then being organized. Do you know what I mean? So if you have been a big spender and you've got credit card debt and you've got whatever, there's going to be a period of transition. But again, it's such a lovely mindset shift, because you start to take pleasure in saving, not in spending. And I, you know, just the joy. I've got all the apps on my phone, got my Zero account, and the joy. Some mornings I'll just wake up, I'll just look at my profit account, you know, and it just makes me feel happy. You know, it makes me feel happy that, like, because I could not see the fruits of my labor. I just didn't know where the money went. And I'm working so hard and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. And I don't know what it was. I mean, it is weird what you say, because it does feel like the money's coming from somewhere, like there's some kind of leak and the money's just seeping in and I don't know where it's coming from. But it's just tiny. It's like that book, Atomic Habits. It's like tiny changes. Tiny changes add up and you don't notice it for a while. Then all of a sudden you look and you're like, wow, look how much is in my profit account. You know, I remember the first time I looked and it was like, it wasn't even that much. It was like, say, $2,000 or something. But I never had $2,000 that was mine. It wasn't for the groceries. It wasn't for my business. It wasn't for my mortgage. It was actually mine. And then I didn't want to spend it. I
remember that. You're just like, can I just have it there?
Yeah.
No, Kate, no.
Yeah. But no, you know, and now things have evolved a lot. And obviously, since we worked together, which was a while ago now, you know, I fiddled with my figures a bit more. And do you want to know what my percentages are now?
I do.
You might tell me they're wrong, and then I'll get in trouble. So because I'm now a company, my incomes come in, and I kind of have what I call my hard costs, or my cost of it's not really cost of sales, but I always take my money out for my key team member, which is Leanne and her team. So that goes out first, and that's about
so your materials and subs.
Yeah, so not quite, I'm a bit different. So money goes out for her, so 17% for her, which is way too high. Like, I've got way too much money in my account sitting. I could pay Leanne for another year and she'd be cool. Then I always take out my GST. And my GST is now down to about 6% because of what I spend, whatever. Then after I've done that, then I implement profit first, if you see what I mean. So my profit is now 15%, my expenses 27, my salary 28, my tax 10, and my company tax 20. So those bottom figures add up to 100.
Yep.
Two figures take off the top. And so that's working. I usually I get to the end of the quarter ready to pay my BAS, and there's enough money in there for my BAS and my tax. Usually at the end of the expenses is usually bottomed out. Like, I do spend that, and that always freaks me out. I'm like, oh, it's all gone. And I'm like, it's supposed to be all gone. That's the point. The Leanne budget and the salary, there's always lots left over. So I just, at the end of each year, if I know what everything's going to be, I move the money into a separate account, do my tax return, and then once I've done my tax return, I know that money's mine, and that goes now into a different account. I've actually set up a family trust, and that money goes into that. So, you know, I'm so grown up now, Laura.
But that's really interesting, because exactly what you've done is correct. Those things like GST have to come off top. It's not your money. Same with, you know, people, like, if you don't have Leanne, it's very difficult to run your business and that sort of thing. So that's completely correct. And the thing that I want to highlight here as well is that you have to make the bank accounts purposeful for your business. And so the fact that you have that 10% tax and that 20% company tax is really important. You know what that is. Someone else may only want one because that's meaningful enough to them.
Yeah. I like to have it quite split out. You know, to be honest, now these days I kind of put that tax money into the family trust for it and then bring it back out again for various reasons. But it's a discipline. Like, now I feel so much more confident about what it is. I feel like I wouldn't need the numbers as much, but I'm not letting go of the numbers. Because, you know, before you know it, it just takes a little bit, you know, he talks about atomic habits positively, it just takes a little bit of a flip the wrong way. And then something comes around and you don't have the money. So, you know, it just really made me take a step up in terms of my financial literacy and also my financial responsibility. Because I'm quite good at making money. Like, I'm quite good at that. But knowing what to do with the money once it comes in is a different skill set. And it's not my skill set. I can make something, paint it blue, whack it on my website and sell it. When the money comes in, making sure that everything is copacetic, don't want to get in debt again, want to make sure I
Mhm.
can always pay people. That's a different skill set, which I didn't have. And so I needed to get external advice, you know, and there's no shame in that. A lot
Not
of
at
us
all.
aren't brought up with good money management skills. So, or we're brought up with weird beliefs around money that our parents gave us. And that can be really challenging.
Absolutely. Can I ask you, what have you managed to do personally by implementing Profit First?
So totally take away the stress of tax and GST time. And that sounds like nothing, but that was very stressful to me, very stressful. Pay myself a salary, which has enabled me to live the life that I want to live. I've also paid off my mortgage and been able to buy an investment property, which is very exciting. Yeah, I mean,
So exciting.
obviously it's, you know, the bank owns it at the moment, but you know, I am confident that I can, you know, pay that down. I've managed to employ a team of 9 and keep them employed through COVID when everyone else
Awesome.
was sacking people and retiring. I managed to keep my team throughout the whole of COVID. And I've managed to turn up for my customers and my members all the way through COVID as well. You know, even though it was challenging for me, because you know, obviously everyone was very anxious about money, and I did go into overdrive a little bit and do more. Actually, for me, and I don't want to make anyone else feel bad, but COVID was probably my most financially successful year, partially because I pushed myself quite hard, but also because I was already set up for that success. And you know, when COVID hit, I was able to look at my accounts and go, I'll be all right for quite a while, because I have saved this money all this time, you know? So yeah, I don't know if I really even understand the impact of what it's done for me yet, because I'm still in the, you know, the trenches doing the work. And I always am somebody that if I admit that the struggle is over, then I'll totally lose my carrot. I need the carrot, I need the stick. But, you know, talk to me in 5 years' time when I'm able to, maybe, I don't think I will, but I want to be able to get to the point where I could walk away from my business and know that I'm set, and then know that I don't want to, but know that I could. I think that's the goal.
It's finding the motivation. And I think where you're at and what people don't understand with Profit First is they generally come to Profit First because they're in survival mode, where it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't know whether this business is even viable. I can't pay myself. I don't even know if I can hire anyone to help me because I can't make any more money until I do, and that sort of thing. And then from there, you get into the thriving stage of Profit First, and it's just as important. And so the fact that I've seen you go from sole trader being absolutely petrified of paying your BAS and that sort of thing, and even being sure that you could take the money that you wanted to pay yourself as well, to now, you know, having the team that you have, which was something that you swore black and blue that you'd never do.
Yeah, I mean, they're all subcontractors. So believe me, you know, I did try and employ someone that wasn't my cup of tea. But now, you know, this is, you know, one of the joys of Profit First is you can dial it up and down depending on how things are going. You know, if your income drops, you just change the percentages, take a little bit less profit, you know, and that's going to be fine for a while. You know, that's fine. You can change it based on what's coming into the business. And again, with my employees, I've structured it in such a way that I can dial it up and dial it down. You know, they're subcontractors, I'm then often their main client, but there's that freedom to say, look, hey, next month things are going to be a bit quieter, can I have a couple of less hours? And that works well for me. That gives me that flexibility and that freedom. So I think the other thing that people misunderstand Profit First is they think it's like super rigid and oh my God, I've got to do this. It's not. It's actually quite flexible. It's that same thing, routine, creativity. You know, you can adapt it. And you should adapt it. You should adapt it because it should change as your business changes and as your personal goals change. You know, maybe you want to dial down the profit for a bit because you do want to make an expense in your business. You want to buy something in your business. You want to invest in something. You want to, you know, get a brand new website and you're happy to maybe pay 10 grand for that. And maybe that month take a bit less profit or whatever it may be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's adaptable. You're able to do that because you're still taking profit. Yes. So what I see, the biggest mistake I see people do is go, well, I'll just keep changing the percentages to make it work for me every week because they don't have enough money to actually stick to what the money's telling them. And so once you're in that thriving stage, or once you have that baseline profit and the things are being met that are causing you stress, you can adapt.
Yeah, you got the
There's
freedom.
not permission from Kate to change your percentages all the
No.
time.
You know, I mean, I'm talking that I take in the first year, I think we fiddled with them 3 times, and then I stuck with the same percentages for a good year, 2 years, and then when I became a company, they obviously changed, and now I've stuck with them again. And I know that they are cautious figures. Like, I know I could take more salary, I could take more profit. I just don't want to at the moment. I'd rather see that money building up within my business. You know, I'm not going to take that as dividends yet, because what I'm hoping to get to is the point where there's enough money there that I could actually just take dividends each year, and that's my salary. You know, I'm an old badger and I don't want to leave the house anymore, and I just want to stay in with all my cats. You know, I'm going to have I don't even like cats, but I'm going to get some. Just but yeah, no, it's incredibly free. I mean, the advice I would give, and this sounds like I'm spooking you, is I couldn't be bothered to read the book, and I needed someone to keep me accountable as well. So for me, having a profit first coach, as it were, to check in with each 3 months, to say, I also wanted a pat on the bottom. Let's not be, I wanted someone to say, well done, you've done it right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're going well. Okay, no, you need to tweak that one a little bit. I needed that for at least I think we did about a year together when we started. And then I think it's also really important to get an accountant and a bookkeeper who appreciate profit first and don't scoff at it. Because often, again, the reason they scoff at it is just because they're not used to it, and that's just not how they operate. But there's plenty of accountants out there who do know profit first.
Absolutely,
they're the ones you should be going for, because you don't want to be arguing with your accountant about how you want to organize your money, and that's just a nightmare. You know, if you want to do this, then they should come along for the ride, and if they don't, find a new accountant.
Couldn't agree more. You're speaking my language, and you know, we could talk about this forever. And you know, I want to acknowledge the time that you're giving to talk about this, but I do have one last question for you. So what would your advice be for any other business owners that are watching and maybe considering implementing profit first? What advice would you give them?
I would say, for me, because I'm lazy and I don't have time, and I'm interested in it, but I'm not really interested in it. I want the end result. I'm not interested in I would get someone to sit down with you, have an hour-long chat. That's going to be illuminating, save you reading the whole goddamn book, set up your little spreadsheet, and then just, you know, be a bit patient. You know, give yourself 3 months to get your head around it. But, you know, I am in no way affiliated to Profit First. I make no money. I should. Jesus, they literally should pay me to do this, but I am not. But when you find something that has changed your life in the way that Profit First has changed mine, I mean, I could almost cry the difference that it has made in my life, in terms of going from massive debt to feeling confident about my future. It's transformational. And you know I sound like a loon, but if there's one thing you do, this is one of the key things I teach all my members, every student. One of the first things I say, like, get a good accounting package, and get your zero locked in, and do your profit first. And your first hire should be an accountant. I don't care whatever else you want to do. Zero, profit first, accountant are my 3 things that I always say. And you know, not affiliated with them, but that's just, you know, it's what you need to do. So give it time, do it. You will not regret it. I promise you. And if someone as daft as me, as someone who is as financially illiterate as me, can do this, then anybody can. Because now I'm like a money beast. I'm like, you know, planning my stocks and my shares, and I've got my trusts, and I'm on it. I can, if someone asks me what my net profit is, I can go, it's fa. You know, I've got the figures at my fingertips. And you know, it all started from that one lady turning a computer screen to me and me thinking, how is that even possible that you could have those accounts and they've all got money in them? I don't understand it. And she wasn't like a fabulously amazing genius entrepreneur. She was just a regular business human. And it made me believe that it was possible.
And it totally is. And I think the patience is where you need to be, because there's a lot of mindset that you need to grapple when you're implementing Profit First. But if you stick with it and you have the right support and accountability, it can't do anything but work. So it
works. It's just whether you go along with the flow. And that's why I really do think it's a good idea to have someone to keep you accountable. Because I reckon if you hadn't checked in with me every 3 months, I might have strayed from the path. And then after that much time you just get into the habit of doing it, and it becomes a really enjoyable thing that I do on a Monday morning. I really enjoy doing all my little transfers. I find it really satisfying, and I feel I'm set up for the week, and that's the first thing I do every week, and it's just a really positive way to start your week.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you again for being here and sharing the profit. I'm pretty sure we've got comments and stuff, so I'm going to go through and respond to any questions there. But yeah, if Kate can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah, that's it. For sure.
And I truly believe that Profit First is such a game changer, and I really appreciate you taking the time to actually let us delve into your business. And you know, not everyone's willing to do that, so I very much appreciate
I don't
it.
know why, but I think it's good to be transparent and be honest about both the negatives and the positives of money, especially as women as well, female entrepreneurs. So yeah, I'm glad I could help. And if one or two people decide to take the plunge because of this, then I feel like I've done my good in the world today. And go and have an ice cream and be greedy and selfish.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Kay.
All right.
All right. Bye.